Hey, everybody, this is Joseph Hasek, and welcome to the Fired Up Network. Welcome to Maple Leafs Forever Leaf Talk breaking news for Monday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm on here with the broadcasting legend, Storm and Norm Rumack. Also, today it marks a lot of birthdays, so let me get through them. Norm's accountant, Harvey Korman's son, Shane Korman's birthday. The Fired Up Network's own Justin Levine, and yesterday was Steve Carney's birthday. So happy birthday! And don't forget, on Sunday it's Mother's Day. So go out, get some chocolates, some flowers for your mom. It is also Stormin Norman's 71st. See, Norm, I did not mention 71st. Am I correct, Norm?
Yeah, that's coming up next Mother's Day.
Yes, on Sunday. So, Norm, everybody, tell the whole world, what do you want for your birthday? Do you want a Maple Leaf hoodie? Do you want a Team Canada shirt? Do you want a Chelsea glow in the dark, cup holder? What do you want for your birthday?
How about some cold hard cash, Joe?
I don't have it. So, what else do you want for your birthday?
That's about it.
Just you want a birthday from somebody's lovely sister?
Oh, you mean from the one and only Betty?
Yes, Betty.
Yeah, of course. Well, it's always nice to hear from Betty.
Yeah, it's nice. So I'm asking you seriously, what do you want for your birthday? A birthday calendar from the one and only Betty or not?
Yeah, of course.
Hold on. Angie from She Does Sports is on here. We're discussing Norm's present for Mother's Day, which is his birthday, 71 years. He wants a swimsuit calendar from my sister, Betty. Now, the only thing, Norm, and I'm going to ask this, I don't care. Ange, have you ever posed for some swimsuit photos to give to Norm?
No.
No. Would you do it for his birthday?
No.
See, Norm, I tried. All right, Norm? I tried to make you happy. All right? So, and hold on. Can I ask? My sister can produce those. Why don't you want to produce those for Norm for his birthday? Or did you get him a present already?
I did not.
Are you going to get him a present?
Maybe.
It's Mother's Day. What present do you want for Mother's Day happening this Sunday? Before we talk about the Maple Leafs, I got a soliloquy about the Maple Leafs like crazy. But go ahead.
I just want world peace.
All right. Enough of you. All right. So Norm and Ange, today about 1 o'clock, 1:15, down at the Scotiabank Arena, the Maple Leafs made a major press conference. They have John Cheka as the new GM. And I don't know if he's the president of hockey operations, vice president, special ambassador, Matt Sundin as the new, whatever you want to call it. Now, number one, Matt Sundin, me and Norm both know him, an amazing guy. When he scored the 500th goal, he came in the dressing room. He gave me a shout out. Hey, Joe. Hey, Norm. How you doing and all that? Norm was too busy talking to Darcy Tucker about his establishments. Matt Sundin, great guy. No history as a hockey executive, but here. Now, John Cheka has experience. He was the GM of the Arizona Coyotes, and he got thrown out of the league. I'm sorry, but it's true. I got to give it. And Norm, we both were talking off there. We got to give it to our good Jewish friend from the Toronto Sun, Steve Simmons, who came on there and really railroaded Keith Pelly, and he's like, he talked to 20 guys. 19 out of the 20 guys called John Cheka a scam, a liar, doesn't know what he's doing, and all this. So, and if anybody else says it, I take it with a grain of salt. But because Steve Simmons says it, and I know Steve Simmons personally, you know Steve Simmons, he has helped me out a couple times. Yeah, great guy. And what do you think about this hiring of Matt Sundin and John Cheka as the GM and special advisor, and then I'll go to Ange. Go ahead, Norm.
Well, in terms of Mats, you're right. He's a great guy. He's an all-time great Maple Leaf. You won't meet a nicer guy, that's for sure. But he hasn't been involved in NHL hockey in 17 years, something like that. So the problem is, and even, okay, so Cheka was involved with the Coyotes, but here's the bigger problem. No matter who they hire, barring an unusual miracle in the draft lottery where the Leafs would get into the top 5, so they keep their own pick. If not, then Boston gets Toronto's pick. And by the way, even if the Leafs do get a top 5 pick, they still owe Boston a first-round pick for the next year. But anyway, that's a side story. But the problem is this: without draft picks, we saw how the Leafs badly imploded without Mitch Marner. So without an abundance without any French or more franchise players, which they need in the draft, and certainly on the blue line, and they never replaced Marner's 100 points. So unless they can do that, and how are they going to do that? They've got nothing to trade. Who are they going to trade? What are they going to trade? They've given away all their draft picks already. So what are they going to trade? They're not going to trade Austin Matthews. It's what are you going to do that for, right? Unless he demands it. So even with the Leafs could have got a hockey executive with Stanley Cup, or get someone who's been a top scout, who's found players for winning organizations. That would be a good hire as a GM. Right? I'm just saying that would be a good hire as a GM. But like I say, with all due respect, and especially to Mats Sundin, how's Mats going to help straighten things out with Toronto when he hasn't been involved in the National Hockey League in that long? It's not a knock on Mats. I think the same would apply to anybody who's been away from the NHL game for a long time, right? And he's not going to go on the road and start scouting junior games, in Sarnia and Moose Jaw and in, lower British Columbia, et cetera, right? He's not going to do that kind of work. So it just doesn't seem to be the sort of hire that's going to fix the problems that the Maple Leafs had. And the problems that the Maple Leafs have, the biggest one was losing Marner. And, and now Austin Matthews has more injury problems. It's unclear if he still has his heart in it to be with the Maple Leafs long term. There's a lot to be done, but like I say, there's a lot of questions to be asked about their hiring, but especially the fact that there's not a whole lot that anybody could do because the organization's in a very tough spot without the abundance of draft picks that they need. And they're not going to replace the departure of Mitch Marner. They failed to do that, and we saw how badly the team imploded this year. They got big, big problems down there, and I don't think they've been solved by this hiring, with all due respect to the people involved.
All right, so before I give it to Ange, I'm just going to take some comments that you made here. We're very good friends with one guy that I know was up for consideration, and that's Mike Futa, former GM of the Kings, and he's done a great job. And more Norm than me, but we're good friends with him and all that. He would have been a perfect hire for the Maple Leafs, put it that way. Okay, Mike Futa would have been a perfect hire, and he has an eye for talent and all that with the Kings, and the Kings won back, Stanley Cups and all that. Now you're talking about, I never knew, and we know Mats Sundin how long? For well over 30 years, okay? They were saying in the press conference that Mats Sundin and Czechia are friends for well over 14, 15 years. Did you know that, Norm? We know Mats Sundin's good friends with William Nylander, and good friends with players on the team, Wendell Clark, Gary Roberts, Ty Domi, and all that. But I don't know if that. Well, I can't say it's not the truth. I can't say it's the truth. But even if you're friends, you're in a hockey business, and let's face it, the Maple Leafs are the Mecca. And I'll steal a line from a good friend of mine. The Maple Leafs are God's team in the National Hockey League. All right, Angie? Not Montreal Canadiens, where you come on and wearing a Montreal Canadian hoodie or whatever. God's team in the National Hockey League, right, Norm? All right? and they have the chance to make history. Go out and they spent. He says they did 27 interviews, 27 interviews, and they pick a guy who was kicked out of the National Hockey League, and they take Matt Sundin, which, let's face it, Matt Sundin, great guy. He's gonna, they have a bunch of alumni: Daryl Settler, Wendell Clark, Felix Potvin, you name it, we got it. Do we need more alumni who don't do anything? And I'm not saying Matt Sundin's not going to go out, and he's going from Sweden to go to Toronto. It's a big thing, big move for him and his family and all that. But one interesting thing here, and I don't know if you read a press release, Ange, I don't have it or whatever. They signed John Chayka and Matt Sundin, but nobody has said how many years did they sign them. When you sign somebody, we have signed Craig Berube to a 3-year. He's the new coach of the Maple Leafs. We have signed Doug Gilmour, the new GM of the Maple Leafs, to a 2-year contract. How many years did they sign Chayka? How many years did they sign Matt Sundin? Matt Sundin's not going to move from Sweden to Toronto, and God love Toronto and God love Sweden, but for a year, for 2 years, for 3 years, no matter if they give him $20 million. All right?
I don't think that's going to be a big factor. All due respect, I don't think that's a big factor. The factor is the organization doesn't have draft picks. Like I say, barring a miracle in the lottery for the picks on May 5th, unless they get a top 5 pick, I mean, that'll help. But they traded away so many picks. So who are you gonna build around? How are you gonna build around Austin Matthews? Like, what are they gonna do? Who are they gonna do?
Because a source within the National Hockey League has told me the Maple Leafs may have somebody scratching their back. They're not going to get the number 1 pick. He has said they're going to get number 2 or 3. Now, if they get the number 2 or 3 pick, do not pick a forward. You pick a defenseman that you build, a number 1 stud defenseman who we never had since Boreas Salming, the greatest Maple Leaf player in my view. And then Sundin coming, another, Swedish and all that.
How are they going to get the number 2 or 3 pick? Isn't it supposed to be a lottery with ping pong balls?
Be a lottery, but right now they have the 4th best chance at getting number 1. So the 4th best chance at getting number 1. Then they have.
You're saying like for sure they're going to get a top 3 pick.
I didn't say for sure. I'm saying the NHL may scratch somebody's back within Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment.
That's what you're saying. Scratching somebody's back means what?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Tomorrow on May 5th, when you're drinking Cinco de Mayo, Norm, we got to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. I know you got to put your Mexican hat on and everything like that. Celebrate Mexico, Cinco de Mayo, because the Maple Leafs, I'm telling you right now, if I am wrong, Ange will shave your head. All right? If I'm wrong, Ange will shave your head. I'm telling you, the Maple Leafs may get the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th pick in the draft this year. Don't worry. They're not going to give Boston their pick this year. They're going to give it next year, and then Philadelphia 2 years, whatever. I don't care about that. Right now, they need defense. And one thing I could tell you about Matt Sundin, I made some few calls here. Me and Ange did a show about this. I played it earlier this morning, and we did a good show here, Maple Leafs Talk. But I'm telling you, Matt Sundin has a few players, few surprises in Sweden, and Sweden is known for what? Stud defensemen. He knows a few players, and I wouldn't be surprised if he pulls some defensemen out of, the stuff there from Sweden. But I'm going to, Norm, you're talking too much. Give it to Ange. What's your Ange, who spends money, thousands of dollars, yeah, right, on Maple Leaf tickets? Norm, the tickets, she was telling me next year, if she wants to go to Maple Leaf Saturday game, for 4 tickets, cost $625 each. Now, 4 tickets, $620, it's $2,500. Norm, that's your monthly salary for Fired Up Network. I don't pay you in October. So I could give it.
Right.
I refuse to spend money on those games. I can't justify it. If someone wants to send me to a game, take me to a game, I'll go, but I will not spend that kind of money, especially while they're figuring things out. Also to confirm, so Czechia signed a 5-year contract and Matt Sundin has signed a 4-year contract. But you're right, it wasn't, I had to dig a bit for that.
So, Norm, did you hear that? 5-year contract for Czechia, 4 years for Matt Sundin. So that's interesting.
Well, like I say, it wouldn't matter if it's for 4 months or for 4 years. Like, it won't matter because there's not a lot to work with, barring some miracle, I'd say miracle in that lottery draft. Yeah. And then, not every 18-year-old is ready to step in right away, so we'll see. Although it's supposed to be a pretty good draft this year.
But here's the other thing, and then I'll throw it to Ange here. Here's the other thing. When I made some calls, they believe, listen to this, they believe in Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment that this year was a blip. They were like last year's team. They're close. They need to make minor adjustments, and they'll be running for the Stanley Cup again.
I got news for you. It wasn't a blip. Mitch Marner's 100 points were not a blip.
Me and you are in agreement, but I'm just telling what the Major League and Maple Leaf Sports up the ladder, they think they're a blip. They're a blip? Okay. So even if they're not a blip, even if they continue on, how many years they'd won one round in like 25 years? One round in 25 years, okay? 2-3 years ago when Tavares scored against Tampa, okay? That's it. One round in 25 years. Then 24, they mentioned that the 24 years they went to the third round. They haven't won 3 rounds ever in the National Hockey League. Stop laughing. 3 rounds in the National Hockey League they haven't won ever. Norm, we mentioned you're 71 on Sunday. National Hockey League, the Maple Leafs are like 100 and something years old. They haven't won 3 rounds, let alone 4 rounds, let alone 1 round. Enough.
That's why I'm laughing. It's like, it's crazy. Yet people still pay. They make a lot of money. They make up the majority of the entire NHL in terms of profits. People will still go. People will still pay. I don't know. I don't know what needs to happen. I don't even know if this move is going to be a big enough shakeup. Why I think it is good is, Sundin obviously has, he's worn the C here in Toronto. He is kind of one of, I would say, not the, but one of the ultimate authority figures who actually knows what it's like to be a captain of a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs, as you say, God's team here in Toronto. He's not just a figurehead. I mean, he's obviously moving his entire family here full time. So, he's lived here. I don't know though. I think, I keep hearing about his vision, and he's on this mission to, get in that dressing room and teach the core 4 how to lead under the Toronto microscope. But I don't think that's enough. And then,
okay, hold on.
Czechia, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't think he has enough experience. I mean, apparently I read that he's been about 6 years away from a GM chair. And I don't know, who's going to be in charge of the scouting. Maybe they're going to kind of do it together. Who's going to have a little bit more play in that? I don't know. I think, again, just that experience gap, though. Again, Matt Sundin, great player, but he does have 0 prior management experience. I mean, he was obviously a legendary captain here in Toronto, but that switch from playing on the ice to, the executive suite is very difficult and very different. Not to mention, he hasn't even lived here for quite some time. So
I want to say this about Matt Sundin. Yes, and Norm can attest to this. Yes, he was a great player and all that, but I don't know when he was playing for the Maple Leafs if he could, or if he did teach the other players to get over the hump. Remember, they won 1 round, they won 2 rounds, they did not win the 3rd or 4th round. They went there twice. They every year they did go for the 1st round. They made the 2nd round, they lost. They made the 3rd round, they lost. So I don't know if he was there mentally, physically telling people, okay, we could do this, we could do that. I don't know. That's number 1.
Well,
And
also
number two,
too. Okay, go ahead.
well, go ahead.
I was just going to quickly say, I just realized too, like, there's no president of hockey operations as there usually
Yes,
always
that was
is.
asked. That was asked, and Keith Pelly said, "Right now, we don't need one."
Okay, but what
So
happens
they're
if now
all
Czechia and Sundin disagree on, say, a
so
major
the
trade or
whole
a
thing
draft
is
pick?
it looks
Where's
like
that? Like,
and,
there's going to be so much friction
and
there.
it looks
Well,
like
I hear they have to run it by,
by
I hear they have to run
yeah,
it by Keith
Keith
Kelly.
yeah,
And
that's what it is. They if they have an disagreement or whatever, if they have a trade and they even agree to it, they still have to run it by
I
Keith
hear
Pelly,
that,
and Keith
yeah, I
Pelly
hear
puts
that.
it up the ladder or whatever. So
Okay.
again,
No, he doesn't put it up the ladder. I hear it. The decision making goes, the final decision has to go by Keith Pelly and he has to approve it.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
yeah, that's what it is. So technically, the president is Keith Pelly, which again, I'm not there. All right, we'll close this out. Norm, is this the right pick for the Maple Leafs? Yes or no?
They could have, like I say, Joe, I'll stick with my opening statement. They could have picked anybody. They could have picked anybody, but the problems that they have without depth of draft picks in the organization, barring, like I say, a miracle on Tuesday, to get a top 3 or 4 pick, the rebuild, not the rebuild, but to fill the holes, like I say, just ask yourself this: who are you going to replace? Which GM is going to find someone to replace Mitch Marner with? 100 points. How are you going to get a 100-point player? What are you going to give up on the Maple Leaf roster to get them? They haven't got what to give up. So it doesn't matter. You could hire a guy with 9 Stanley Cup rings. It ain't going to make a difference. They haven't got they need years of drafting or getting draft picks of players to build with. And without franchise players, so you got Austin Matthews, of course he's a franchise player, right? Tavares is kind of like, in the twilight of his career. And as, we discussed before, the Leafs need a whole lot of help on their blue line.
Yeah.
But what was the biggest gap in the Maple Leafs? It was the 100-point drop-off without Mitch Marner. End of story. There's no GM who can replace Mitch Marner. There's no GM that can replace Mitch Marner. That's the problem, whether it's Chayka or pick whoever you want, whatever great name from whatever great organization. You haven't got the organizational depth to replace the player that you lost. And now there's uncertainty as to whether Austin Matthews even wants to stay here long term. So they got big issues there.
I believe, and this is a final thought by me, and then I'll throw it to Ange. I
don't have much to say, so you can skip me.
They brought in John Chayka because he's friends with Austin Matthews. They really believe that he can sort of massage another 4 or 5 year contract from Austin Matthews. I don't know about that, but all I know is in a year and a half, there's another free agent who's a better hockey player, who's already fed up of Edmonton shoveling snow and all that, and his name is Connor McDavid.
And why would he want to? Why would he want to come to Toronto with all that?
Toronto Maple Leafs, it's God's team instead of shoveling snow in June. Well, anyways, he won't have to snow in June. Listen,
he'd rather be with a team that's won one playoff round in 25 years. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, this is and what has Maple Leafs done? So they're already a match made in heaven. All right, that's right. All right, Ange, listen to this, Norm. You're going to be liking this. Ange has started off, of course, she's on the Femme Network, but she does sports, and her latest show is with, well, you tell Norm who's it with, because this is a major, major coup. I paid even as much money for her as Norm. I did. Go ahead, Norm. Listen to this.
So we've got Stephanie Dreyer. She is a world-class journalist, very interested in sports. She's lived literally all over the world, specifically interested in soccer. So leading up to the World Cup, having us being a host city here in Toronto, we're going to be doing a few segments leading up to World Cup and obviously during World Cup and then obviously post. But yeah, we've got a few chats already. We did one on all the new FIFA rules for this tournament and more to come. So stay tuned.
Sounds good.
All right. No.
Yeah, she's great. But in terms of the Leafs, guys, honestly, like my closing statement, it can't get any worse than it already is. So I don't know what else to say.
You'd be surprised.
Yes, you're right. You're right. That's true.
Go ahead, Norm.
No, I'm just saying it could get worse before it gets better.
We shall see.
All right. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you.
Okay, right here on the Fired Up Network. That's the easiest place with
Go
Joe
ahead,
and
Norm.
Angie. Yeah, right here on the Fired Up Network, Joe, with you and Angie and a whole lot of other guests talking all the major sports that people follow locally and around the world. It's going to be a fun summer in Toronto with the World Cup. And of course, elsewhere in Canada, the United States, and Mexico. And the playoffs have been very compelling in hockey. Watched that shootout last night. It was 9-6. It's like a football game. So with Colorado and with Minnesota, so that's an exciting series. You get to see looking forward to seeing the Sabres and the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's going to be a great series. It's going to be a really good series. And so the hockey playoffs have been great so far. Raptors did a nice job as well. They got themselves back on the map, and hopefully they can continue to build on that for next season.
All right, and don't forget, we'll be previewing the second round of the NHL playoffs tomorrow. So, and Norm, by the way, today I mentioned all the birthdays, but tomorrow, Cinco de Mayo, we're celebrating that Cinco de Mayo. So go get some, some drinks there and all that. Está bailando. And Norm, ¿tú estás bailando or qué? ¿Tú hablas español or qué? I know Ange knows it. She's Italian. She knows everything. But Norm, come on, you like it?
Yo hablo un poquito español.
All right, so you just talked about a little Spanish, more than Ange, who spoke a little bit Italian. Come on, now, give everybody. We're international here, so can you give somebody some Italian words, Ange?
No, I can swear in Italian, but then that makes this a 18+ show. So
swear. She always wants to swear, Norm. She always wants. And Norm, by the way,
swear words first.
By the way, happy Lag BaOmer. Today is Lag BaOmer for all the Jewish fans out there. Go and cut your nose hair, Norm.
Right.